Love is the thing that enables you to open yourself up to the feelings of other people. I'll leave you to reflect and think about that. Hello, welcome to the Heart of the Piano YouTube channel. I'm Bob Rose. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been running through some of the most important chapters in this book, Practiceopedia by Philip Johnston. And so the things that I've been looking at, these are really some of the most helpful, most important things that most people who practice, who are not professionals, are kind of getting wrong. And what I'm introducing in this video is like the third, for me, the most important element of practicing that must be there in every single moment that you're practicing. Otherwise, you're going to have two problems. Everything's going to feel way more difficult than it needs to be. And also, it's just not going to sound that musical. It's not going to sound all that good. Now, it's not really something that's actually covered in this book, although he kind of gets close to it. He talks about this. But, you know, for me, this is something that's much more psychological. So a lot of the time when people talk about talent, and in the very first video, when we were looking at, when I was reviewing the book, Philip Johnston was talking about what is talent. It's basically when people can practice in a way that's better than other people, when you can practice and prepare. That is the best talent to have. Now, personally, I think there's something that's missing here. We can do all the right things. We can learn how to play all the correct notes. We can learn to not just keep going to the beginning all the time and go to the bits that are more difficult. We can learn to chain difficult things together. We can learn all the practicing techniques. But does that actually help us to sound talented? Does it help us to sound musical? Does it help us to express ourselves? You know, what is the reason that most people will learn a musical instrument? And if we really dig deep and really ask ourselves, why do we play a musical instrument? Hopefully, for most people, this is not to be good at it. It's not, we don't play because we want to be good at it, although I'm sure there's some of that there. But we play it for all the other reasons, that it moves us, that the music is pleasurable, it gives us emotions, all this kind of stuff. Now, if most of our practice is spent focusing on the mechanics and the competence and can we play all the correct notes, we're kind of doomed right from the beginning. And, you know, like I said, everything's just going to feel so much more difficult. Now, if you think about listening to somebody who's talented, someone plays, you go, oh, they're so talented. I don't think that just means, like Philip Johnston sort of described when I reviewed the book, I don't think this just means that they can learn easily and quickly. I think we're talking about like a magical element that when someone who is talented plays, we feel something. There's something artistic about it. There's something just that little bit beyond that's difficult to describe. So, you know, basically, yes, we can learn all the technique in the world. We can play fast. We can play all the correct stuff with our fingers. But if it leaves people cold, if it doesn't express anything, it's pointless. So this is how I sum up this essential strategy when we are practicing. And really, you need to be always doing this in every single moment that you're practicing, along with all the other technical stuff. And this is what I use with my students all the time. If the music that you were learning, if the music was a person, who is this person? You've got to ask yourself this question. Who is this? Are they male or female? Are they young or old? What are they moving like? What's their energy? What's motivating them? How are they feeling? What are they thinking about? So, for example, the piece that I was looking at the last time, which was, I think, in the Trinity Grade 1, that I was using to illustrate chaining things together. What if we looked at that with this approach? And, you know, it's funny because, you know, when I showed you this piece in that last video, and I basically sat down and I just started sight reading it. And I just did the first line. And then I came to it with the way of chaining it, which is like, okay, let's work on it. in the way that a beginner would come to it and look at all the individual elements, suddenly I couldn't play it anymore. Suddenly it was like I missed the second note and everything started feeling more difficult. And that's the problem, because what I was showing you in the last lesson was sort of a very, very technically minded way of how you approach things one by one. But that's really unhelpful unless you are putting this other strategy with it of like, who is it? So, for example, I can look at this piece and go, well, who is this? So, male or female? I think this is female. Although it's not super feminine, but I'm gonna say it's a woman, and I already feel that this is a woman doing something that feels like dancing, or even if she's not dancing, the way she's moving has a kind of grace and an ease to it. And I could spend a while really sort of thinking of more and more, who is this? This is not an old woman. I don't think it's a young girl either. There's a kind of adult maturity about this. This is not just a child going, you know, being a bit wild. This is sort of relatively contained. It's definitely an adult. I mean, you know, would I say early 30s? And, you know, I'm starting to build quite a strong picture. This is so much easier. And hopefully that you can see that as I'm playing in this way, it feels a lot easier than me going, right, I'm playing this and it's going to be forte. And then I'm chaining these notes together and then I'm chaining these notes together to this note. All this feels difficult. But the moment that I start imagining, who is this person? The whole thing just immediately starts to flow through me in a way that suddenly feels would have been impossible when I was looking at all the elements one by one. So basically, this brings me to, I want to talk about some academic research because I really want to emphasize just how important this is. A lot of adult students who I teach, they get very addicted. They get very addicted to this kind of thing that everything has to be analytical. We have to look at this note. We've got to think about this. We've got to play this. We've got to do this. And to start thinking about, you know, who is this? You're imagining the kind of person it is. A lot of adult students have a lot of resistance to this kind of idea. So I want to basically look at some academic research that I was looking at last night. And basically what I was looking for in the research last night, I kind of vaguely remembered that at some point I remembered a research study that was doing brain scans and showing that when people listen to music, people can't help but think of the music as like a human being with a gender, like, you know, male or female, gender, age, even things down to, is this an attractive person or not? These are all things that just subconsciously happen in the brain. So I was looking around for this last night in preparation for this video. I don't think I found that exact study, but I did find other studies. So for example, and I will leave links for everything that I'm talking about in the description below. So there's a lot of research that shows evidence that music acts as like a surrogate social relationship and like music is a virtual friend. So the idea that private music listening can convey the sense of the presence of another person has been proposed by several theoretical positions, in particular social cognition. Persona theory posits that listeners automatically and unconsciously conceive music as expression of a state of mind of an imagined person. Likewise, shared affective motion experience theory, I don't know what that is, but anyway, claims that music provides company by conveying a sense of the presence, actions, and emotional states of another person. Furthermore, research on social music cognition suggests that solitary listening can function as a form of social encounter, and that listeners can conceive a virtual social agent while engaging with well-known musical pieces by themselves. So basically, what all these long, fancy words mean is that to our brain, when we are playing a piece of music, we have the capacity to feel all the same things that we would feel when we were socializing with a real human being. It activates all the same things in our brain. So we basically perceive the piece of music as if that's a real person. And I can't emphasize how important this concept is. Because let's take again this grade 1 very simple minuet that most people are just going to play in a way that's like, and even then, I got some of that wrong. I got some of the articulations wrong. It's really difficult to follow all those things in that very technical way. That was not another human being. That was me trying to play the correct notes with the correct articulations in the correct way. That was not me relating to it as a human being. Now, if I imagine that this is a person, I'm imagining as if that was a real person. Now, think about it. If you're in a room with a person, you're not like Sherlock Holmes in the way that BBC drama had recently, where you just sort of very deliberately, very analytically deduce as much as you can about this person. You don't look at a woman dancing and go, I deduce that this person is female because they have long hair and the way that they're dressing and some of their movements. No, you just feel. You feel the person is female. You don't deduce that they're young or old by looking, well, I can see that their skin is kind of smooth, and so I'm going to deduce that this is a younger person, and because of the clothes that they're wearing, I deduce that they're this kind of age. No, you just get this organically. You just see it. You don't have to be analytical about it and work it out. And this is where so many people go wrong when they're practicing, because they shut down the part of the brain that enables you to perceive things in this holistic way and just goes into, okay, so I talk about this a lot, and I'm going to have to make a complete different video to this. But when the posture changes to the neck going forwards and the shoulders coming forwards and the eyes staring in an intense, narrow, steely focus on, very, very concentrated focus, that is a sign that we're no longer feeling the essence of something. Imagine you're socializing with somebody and you're going, oh, hi, how are you? But you start doing this and going, hello. I'll do it to the camera. Hello, how are you? How are you doing? It's like, whoa, that's not how you perceive and take in the essence of somebody. But this is how someone, comes to their piece, and they'll start going like, and we miss that ability to just take in, who is it? So, and I have a podcast as well. For people that don't know, I've got a podcast. It's also called Heart of the Piano, and I made a series of the most important psychological skills and habits that every single pianist needs to practice, or that good pianists will be doing whether they're aware of it or not. Number 1 is always, in every single moment, look for what there is to love. And love, it's, this is not like an analytical, intellectual thing. I will leave a link in the description below to that podcast episode. I really recommend it. And so you'll probably hear that when I open myself up to, who is this person? Who is this minuet? I'm not only asking myself, who is this person, in a way that I can feel their energy, but there's very strongly implied a sense of love, a sense of empathy, a sense of, I'm tuning into their energy, not with a, who the hell are you? But like, let me open myself up to the energy of who you are as the essence of the person. And I have to do that with a sense of love. Otherwise, it's just going to be... That's me kind of trying to ask myself, who is this person? But without a sense of love. Just like very cold and detached. Love is the thing that enables you to open yourself up to the feelings of other people. I'll leave you to reflect and think about that, but I've given this, a huge amount of thought. Now, just to let you know, I'm not only going to be looking at this minuet in this video, I'm also going to be giving you clips from loads of tutorials that I've done at showing how this applies to a load of different pieces, including pieces like Clair de Lune and all that kind of stuff, and showing how you apply this. So, I'm aware that what a lot of people do, most people, I would say, most people who are not professionals, they all say, no, I have to learn the notes first. So they sit down and learn the notes first and then go, now I'll think about all that other stuff. But I'm sorry, it's too late. By that point, it's too late. And when you start learning without doing all of this, everything is so much more difficult. Like, yeah, it's not magic. It's not like, oh, I just think who it is and suddenly I can just play it. No, you've got to combine all these things. You've got to still do the stitching together, the chaining together. You've still got to sort of be able to work out what the correct fingerings are. You've got to work out how you move your hand and all this stuff. But the thing is that as soon as you can, as soon as possible, you start pulling it in to, and who is it? You don't get stuck in, see, already it's too difficult. It's grade one. This is an easy, ridiculously easy piece for me. But the moment that I stop thinking, who is this, and show you like a way that someone very analytical would go about it, it instantly becomes difficult even for me. But yeah, most people... It's needlessly difficult if you can build in. I mean, it's okay. Maybe you can start just that and then immediately start asking, who is this? Because immediately, as soon as I start thinking who it is, I start to put things into the music that actually aren't even written here. I start to do my own thing with it. Like, I don't just play, I start to do something more like... And I start to do the slur. I don't just play everything legato. I start to go and start to sort of gradually make it more detached until I get to the staccato. And this happens completely intuitively and completely naturally because I'm absorbing myself. I'm becoming absorbed in who is this person, in the same way that when somebody is an actor and they're acting, they don't think about all their facial tics and how they move each part of their limb. They might, when they're practicing how they do that character, they might think about some of these things, but they immediately integrate it into the feeling, the full feeling of who is this person. And by the way, it's not always necessarily a person. Sometimes it can be scenery. Sometimes it can be like a landscape in nature, and we can feel what it feels to be like in this landscape. Or it could be a city we could feel on a busy urban street or something like that. So it's not always who is this piece of music. It could also be what is this piece of music or where is this piece of music. If it's a landscape, is it day or night? Is it stormy or is it sunny? Is it windy? All these kinds of things. But, this is what we want to feel, this sense of perceiving everything as a whole. So, for example, just a little bit more from some of the academic research I was looking at last night. And by the way, I'm going to leave links for a few of the papers, even if I haven't directly quoted from them, because it's for anyone interested in this kind of thing. I'm really fascinated by the academic, evidence-led approach of showing that we do relate to music in this kind of parasocial way. So this word parasocial, that's brilliant because it's very relevant for modern times. People have parasocial relationships with celebrities, with people in TV shows. I have parasocial relationships with people who have YouTube channels. Some of you may have parasocial relationships with me, where I don't know you, but you know me. And so we have a parasocial relationship with the music, and that we feel we have a personal, emotional connection with it. So what I was saying just before about landscapes, I'm just going to give you a quote here. Thus, when music is taken to depict a rough sea, then something in the music causes that. The music contains something that is being taken to signify roughness of sea. Thus, music, it is hypothesized, can express male or femaleness and good or evilness and happy or sadness and so on. And then basically this paper goes on to test the hypothesis. Substantial support for the hypothesis is found. And then another little quote here which says, the social surrogacy hypothesis claims that one can even derive social benefits from listening to music just by oneself. So social surrogacy hypothesis, music is a substitute for a real life social interaction. And, to go back to what I was saying before about being overly analytical and cold and detached, and not really feeling that essence of connection of who is this in a way that you feel naturally with human beings without having to stare at them and deduce who they are by visual signs. When I was a kid, really young, I was fascinated by this book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. And that was really the very early beginning of my fascination with neuroscience, because Oliver Sacks was a neuroscientist, and he wrote all of these books that were very human sort of looks at patients when things go wrong with their brain, and sort of learning a lot about what it means to be human by all the unbelievable things that happens when bits of the brain stops working properly. Now, some months ago, I made a YouTube video specifically about the left brain and the right brain. And this is going to be very, very important and very relevant for what I'm talking about here, because a lot of what I'm talking about is actually the difference between the left brain hemisphere and the right brain hemisphere. Now, for a long time, I thought all of this had been debunked. It hasn't been debunked. Go watch that video for more information about this. And I will be making more videos about this at some point. But basically, to massively oversimplify, but it is a useful lens to see it through. The left brain hemisphere sees things in isolation, in a very narrow focus, in a very analytical way, as things that are one by one. It's one by one. This note here, this note, this note, this note, this note, this is staccato. This is like the left brain way of perceiving it. The right brain hemisphere way of perceiving things is to see gestalt. So gestalt is like you just see a thing instantly. Like, if I show you this, you see, oh, that's a book. You don't have to go, well, it's got 4 sides, it's rectangular, you just see it's a book. And in particular, there are certain things that are more and more right brain hemisphere coded, such as human faces. So if someone has damage to their right hemisphere, they find it very, very difficult to recognize human faces. And then, to come back to this, to perceive this as a human being, that is the right brain hemisphere way of approaching it. And if I'm in the left hemisphere state, which I believe visually looks like the neck forwards, the shoulders rounded forwards, the eyes locked in a sharp, narrow focus, that is not the state that we're in when we take in things in the right brain hemisphere way. So, staring this, we're really not in a position to absorb that in the right brain hemisphere way. Now, I bring all of this up because I went back and I got hold of a passage from The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, which really made a big impression on me. And so the title story in the selection of studies about his patients was a person who had right brain hemisphere damage and couldn't recognize people's faces. And the story gets its name because at one point he tried to put his wife's face onto the hat stand because he didn't recognize her. He thought it was a hat. And at one point, Oliver Sacks brought a rose, like a flower, a rose, brought a rose to him and said, "What is this?" So he said, "I'd stopped at a florist on my way to his apartment. Now I removed this and handed it to him. He took it like a botanist or morphologist given a specimen, not like a person given a flower. About 6 inches in length," he commented, "a convoluted red form with a linear green attachment." "Yes," I said encouragingly. "And what do you think it is, Dr. P?" "Not easy to say." He seemed perplexed. "It lacks the simple symmetry of the Platonic solids." So Platonic solids are like, cubes or dodecahedrons or things that are completely even on each side. "Although it may have a higher symmetry of its own." "I think it could be an inflorescence or flower." "Could be?" I queried. "Could be," he confirmed. "Smell it," I suggested, and he again looked somewhat puzzled, as if I had asked him to smell a higher symmetry. But he complied courteously and took it to his nose. Now suddenly he came to life. "Beautiful," he exclaimed. "An early rose. What a heavenly smell." So this is what it's like. This is what that leap is like, going from... That's like the doctor looking at the rose going, "Well, I see it's a red thing with a green," and then going to... it's a person. It's a person, and there's love in that, And then, just a little bit more, because this is quite amusing. And then I tried, he says, Oliver Sacks, "I tried one final test." "What is this?" I asked, holding up a glove. "May I examine it?" he asked, and taking it from me, he proceeded to examine it as he had examined the geometrical shapes. "A continuous surface," he announced at last, "infolded on itself. It appears to have..." He hesitated. 5 outpouchings, if this is the word." "Yes," I said cautiously. "You have given me a description. Now tell me what it is." "A container of some sort?" "Yes," I said, "and what would it contain?" "It would contain its contents," said Dr. P with a laugh. "There are many possibilities. It could be a change purse, for example, for coins of 5 sizes. It could..." I interrupted the balmy flow. "Does it not look familiar? Do you think it might fit a part of your body?" No light of recognition dawned on his face. Later, by accident, he got it on and proclaimed, "My God, it's a glove!" So this reminds me, I think it's important to quote from this, because this very strongly reminds me of my students when they are playing. And then I stop and go, okay, you're trying to play all the correct notes. But let me ask you, if this piece of music was a human being, was a person, who is this person? Tell me about it. And then they do this, they go, and they stare at it. Like the doctor, looking and going, well, it could be like a red thing with a green stem, or it could be some kind of container that objects go into. You can't get it. You can't get it like that. You have to open up your mind to this complete different way of perceiving things. And here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to have to talk about this in a whole different video. But all my students are obsessed with their primary goal of being able to play all the correct notes. Everyone thinks this is the primary goal of playing a piece of music. And the more that we feel, I have to work hard at this, the more we feel, I'm probably not very good. I have to be good at this. I've got to try my best to play, to impress the teacher. to show myself, to prove that I can do this thing, and put ourselves under pressure and have this feeling in our chest of like, oh my God, I've got to be good at this. And then we don't open ourselves up to this ability to take things in. And I realize now I'm being way too ambitious. I can't possibly go into all of these things. But, you know, I have quite a lot of episodes on my podcast that go into a lot of these skills to pull you into that state of being. And what it basically is in a nutshell, these are things that pull you from a left brain hemisphere dominated state into a right brain hemisphere dominated state. So go watch the YouTube video that I made on this, because this will, the link will be in the description below, because this will give you much more information. And you know, I'm going to make so many more videos about this, about how to pull yourself out of. So I honestly was trying to play it to the best of my ability, and I played the wrong note in there. It's grade 1, it's easy, but when I approach it in that way, it's difficult. So why would, for any of you who are experiencing something, you know, similar, why do you think that that's going to work for you? You know, whereas I'm really imagining a woman really enjoying, loving, with delight, dancing around and feeling. I'm not just imagining it. It's not just purely visual. I am feeling in my chest the same, you know, I'm feeling an empathy for that feeling of dancing around in sort of a giddy state. I'm feeling bodily sensations, imagining that sensation of dancing about, but not in an intellectual way. And this is something else that's super, super important. And I try and, you know, coach people. These are all very, very difficult things to tell you, you know, as YouTube viewers, to tell you how to do this. But it's much easier when I have students and I coach them through the experience. But when I'm playing a piece of music, it's not so much that I try and imagine how I would dance around, because this is very difficult. What I do is, the music is here. The music is not here. The music is not coming from me. The music is not here. The music is here. The music is on the page. It's like when you're reading a novel, and you're reading the novel and it's burst into life and you're immersed in this world. The world is not coming from inside you. The world is coming from the pages of the book. So the music, it comes from here. But then also the music comes through the piano. So, you know, when I'm Bob, I am me, I am, you know, I have my own life and my own thoughts and my own emotions. But the moment that I start playing, they're not my emotions. It's not me trying to make them. It's like, I use this analogy a lot with my students. Imagine your closest friend, and imagine that they've just got back from wherever they've been, you know, whether it's been school or whether it's been work or a holiday, or, you know, whoever you are and whoever they are, you haven't seen them in a little while. And then you see them and they have a load of gossip for you. They have a load of drama and gossip of something that's happened in their lives. And you go, how have you been? Tell me about what you've been up to. And they go, well, and they start telling you all this stuff. That's what's going on. So here it's like this woman is telling me, well, I went dancing, and they're describing to me all the dancing that they were doing. And I'm listening and I'm completely absorbed. I'm being a good listener. Being a good listener is that there's not so much Bob left. You know, I'm not thinking about my own thoughts. I'm not feeling my own feelings. I'm just absorbed in the empathy, the natural way of listening, of just being absorbed in what this other person is telling me. think about watching TV and you become completely engrossed in the scene. That's what it feels like when I'm really playing a piece of music well. Or in fact, most of the time, this is what it feels like when I'm playing. I am absorbed in the emotions and the drama and the narrative of what's going on, as if I'm watching TV and it's just coming to me. Which kind of leads me nicely onto Practicepedia, because he does kind of touch on this, and he calls it painting the scene. So he says, Stan has a great imagination, but a dull sounding piece. He's double-checked all the score markings and is obediently playing everything that's asked for, but the piece still sounds unconvincing somehow. What can he do to connect better with what he needs to play and create a more compelling experience for himself and whoever listens to him? So, injecting life into unconvincing passages can be a frustrating affair. But there's another way, and it works completely differently. In fact, it's modelled on a phenomenon that have been. I think he means that has been, on a phenomenon that has been manipulating the hearts and minds of hundreds of millions of people over the past century. Film music. Ta-da! Raw emotional power. Film music doesn't exist just to cover up awkward silences in the dialogue. A well-composed film score can make you look at a wide-eyed newborn kitten and feel fear. Dun, dun, dun. So, and so on. So basically, he talks about the power of practicing, but imagining as if everything was film music or TV music. Now, personally, to me, that way of approaching it is slightly too detached. I prefer to think of it as like going straight to, what if this is a human being? What if this is actually a scene? Not like a two-dimensional representation of it. So, the difference is, to me, this is like the person is here, talking about social surrogacy. This is a real life human being who's turned up, and I've gone, tell me about your dancing. You went off dancing. Tell me about it. They're like, well. And they're telling me blah, 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 blah. This is a real person here. Now, for me, thinking about this as film music, okay, I'm imagining a two-dimensional movie screen or TV, TV screen, and then imagining what would be happening here. It's just not as vivid, and I don't feel like I am personally connected, like heart to heart, like this person has connected with me. A TV or a film doesn't, it kind of connects with me, but not in the same way that real people connect with me. Or that, if I'm in a landscape, if I'm in a field, it's different to watching it on a TV screen. So, I think it's close, but I prefer, going straight to the source. So anyway, before I show you the clips of me putting this into action, I just want to emphasize again, because I can't emphasize this strongly enough. And it's something that a lot of my students really have a lot of resistance towards. They have so much resistance to this idea. And, I'm just going to say it again, that the more you can approach it in this way, as if it's a real person and that you are not doing it, you are listening and taking it inwards, every technical challenge becomes 100 times easier. It doesn't mean don't do the technical stuff, but every technical challenge and all the things that you're juggling of playing the correct notes, playing the correct articulations, phrasing, everything becomes at least 100 times easier. So, I can't emphasize this enough. People need to stop fixating on the primary goal of playing everything correctly. Anyway, so I'm going to show you the clips of me applying this to various different pieces. And before we get to that, if you're enjoying this video, if it's useful for you, please click on like and on subscribe. And if you want notifications for future videos, click on the bell icon. So here are the clips. Anyway, so something that I think is really, really, really super important when you're learning a new piece or approaching a new piece or playing a piece of classical music in any way at all, I like to ask myself, if this was a person, who would this person be and how are they moving? Who are they? What do I feel about them? In the same way that if you meet a real person in real life, you don't analyze them to go, who is this stranger in front of me? And you sort of start to analyze them with your analytical, logical mind. No, you get feelings about them. You immediately get a very strong feeling. Do you like them? What kind of energy do they have? And this is what I do with every piece of music. I want to get to know it. Who is it? Now, it's either a person or sometimes it can be a landscape. Now here, I personally kind of feel that this moonlight, this clair de lune, the moonlight, I think this is sort of almost like a fairy tale figure, like something like from Ravel's Gaspard de la Nuit with Ondine, you know, like a little water spirit or something like that. I think that I almost feel like this is a creature of the moonlight. It's almost like she is part of the moonlight. I definitely think it's a she. And so if we think, okay, who is this person? What is this person? What's this person's energy? And, you know, I'm thinking, well, how are they moving? What are they saying? What are they feeling? And what I feel is I feel it's very playful. This, and by the way, here's another really, really important thing. So many people, I think, get this wrong, and I am going to say wrong here rather than my opinion. We've got ba-dum, da. It's dum, dum. And he puts a phrase over it. So you can see that he wants dum, da. And it's falling. It goes bum da. It's like a cool da dum da da, and I think it's a little bit. It's sort of like subtly seductive. Dum dum da. It's like calling. It's like come here, come hither. You know. Dum da. It's beguiling. It's evocative. It's seductively inviting. All these kinds of things. So it can't be da dum. And then going down on that one. That's not what it is. It's you lean into the top one and then you relax on the second one. Now, I happened to watch on YouTube as I was doing a bit of research for this piece and saw Bang Bang, as a lot of people call him, Lang Lang. and of course, he plays the first two notes. Actually, it was like, oh, that's not bad. He goes, sounds beautiful. Then he goes, I'm like, oh no, what have you done? No, just no. Anyway, don't get me started on that. Anyway, so it's sort of slightly coquettish. I think that word is sort of quite applicable here. And then it sort of comes to a little bit of a rest. And then so it sort of starts and stops. And I think that what this is, it's like this spirit is almost a little bit shy. It's like she comes sideways with her shoulder and goes, ooh, hello. And then, ooh, how are you doing? And then again, so you get what I mean. It's like she's a bit shy. It's like there's an approach, there's an invitation. Here I am exaggerating the pauses, and then a little bit more. And then there's this little bit of tension, and then she gets a little bit bolder, a little bit braver, opens up a bit more, a little bit shy, a little bit bolder again. And then now she feels way more comfortable. but it's like, it's flirting. It's not just like, hello, 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 hello. It's like, ooh, ooh, hello. And then, ooh, hello, bit more. And then a little bit more. So this is what I think of it. It's playful and flirtatious. That's kind of how I'm feeling it. What I don't think it is personally, which a lot of people I think are going to want to feel it this way, is this sort of super romantic, just drowning in this, you know, you can imagine all the strings going, sort of all very, very syrupy. I don't think that's what this is. It wouldn't be pianissimo. It wouldn't be pianissimo con sordino, which is like with the soft pedal. This is... And it's French as well, you know, like French emotions are not super, super hard on sleeve. There's a sophistication to them and a detachment from the emotions. I think this needs to be slightly detached and elegant. So you know, this spirit of the moonlight is being seductive, subtly seductive and flirtatious, but in a detached way, not in an obvious way. You know, there's an elegance. Which is why it's not just so you know, this sort of go, and then there's a bit of a pause. It's a little bit of French reserve, you know, a bit of French elegance, a raised eyebrow. There's a lot of looks and a lot of tension that's building. You know, that's what I think about this. By the way, berceuse means lullaby. This is so lullaby. You have to imagine a mother just, you know, singing her little baby to sleep, you know, go to sleep, go to sleep, you know, with great tenderness and great love, and just, you know, really, it's very, very beautiful, very heartfelt. Go to sleep, you know, all this stuff. Go to sleep. And imagine, you know, rocking and just wishing all the safety and love for your little baby, you know. And when you bear that in mind, that's the spirit of it, this final beat, all in the pedal, is so beautiful. You know, the blurring of those harmonies is really beautiful. So I don't think that it should just be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very singing, you know, like a mother to a baby, full of tenderness and wishing all the safety and good love in the world. Basically, every single piece that I learn, whatever style of music it is, I think to myself, if it was a person, what kind of mood is this person in? What's their character? It's like if I met this person, what do I feel about them? Now, with this particular piece, it's also, how do they move? Who are they? They male or female? What's their story? And when I hear this, I imagine something like very urban America jazz, let's say set in the 80s, some kind of, maybe let's say a cop movie, you know, like some sort of cool cops and, you know, and there's like a world weariness. And so the protagonist, who's this kind of, you know, cynical, quite masculine, the police guy, in the cool inner city. And there is a coolness. He's definitely cool. He's like, you know, the shoulders are like, and so there's a confidence, there's a coolness, and when it says here relaxed, it's like it was difficult to know exactly what relaxed means, but I think relaxed just means he's cool. You know, it's not like, oh, everything's okay. It's not like there's no tension. There's tension, but he's cool. I think that's what it means. By relaxed, I think it means cool. And then here, swing feel. And I feel it's like he's sort of going da 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 da, and it's like, oh, something's interested him. And again, these things, there's like an inner city call to them. For some reason, I'm thinking Chicago. I've got no idea why, but like, you know, a cop movie set in Chicago. I don't know. And then it sort of like settles down, and then it's like something else grabs his attention, and then it's like he settles back into his coolness, and then so it's like it keeps settling down, and then something else grabs his attention. And this really is like, you know, the kind of drama you'd feel in a cop TV series. Back to a cool strut. But there is an edge. There's like a masculine edge to all of this. So hopefully you see what I mean. Now, I spent quite a while trying to figure out, what is this piece about? Because we never just want to play notes. We never just want to be like, am I playing the correct notes? I am playing the correct notes. I can play this piece. And so, yeah, it says at the evening window, but that doesn't give us a lot of insight as to what this piece is about. Now, for me, I think this section that we were just going from bar 28, this is the key for me of, I think, understanding the piece. It's like reaching, stretching. We've got quite big intervals. And it's going up, it's up. I mean, I really feel almost like I can feel a physical stretching and yearning, and it's like a desire for something beyond your reach. And here, big stretch, big reach, big stretch. Left hand, big stretch. Another big reach. Left hand, another big stretch. And now we've been stretching and reaching, and now we're filled with longing and yearning. And we've got more stretching again. Another big stretch. But now we're like, oh, I can't have it. It's like, and there's a sadness that the thing we've been stretching and reaching and yearning for, we can't have it. We're coming back to earth and going, oh, I can't have it. Now, I recommend that right from the beginning, you do not just look at this as, oh God, it's the Liszt A Baroque piece, okay. And just go like, let me just get all the correct notes. You want to, everything I say to my students all the time, and actually my podcast is a good place to go for this. I've got a podcast on Heart of the Piano. You can go to heartofthepiano.com. There's a link at the top to the podcast, or you can just go to Heart of the Piano podcast on Spotify or Apple. And recently I did an episode on the most important psychological thing to do for any pianist. And basically what it boiled down to is look for what there is to love. And in terms of looking for what there is to love, you look for the character, you look for what it's saying. Like if you are getting to know a person, if you've just met a person and you're looking for what there is to love, you don't intellectually and analytically look for things to love. You go, who is this person? What kind of person are they? What kind of energy do they have? So I do a similar thing with this piece. I'm like, if it's a person, who is this person? And to me, this is like a person. So, what kind of a person is this? What mood are they in? Are they young or old? Are they male or female? What kind of mood are they in? What kind of character do they have? What are they doing? How do they move? You know, all these kinds of things. Now, to me, this is quite playfully childish, and I mean childish in the nicest possible way of a lovable child playing. And there's sort of like a, ooh, squirrel over there, ooh, dog over there, ooh, that over here, ooh, something over there, and then something over here, and now, ooh, that's interesting, ooh, that's nice. And it's exceedingly in a good mood. This is very happy music. This is really sunny, very just optimistic, bubbly. I think very naive and innocent and childlike. So we want to have fun in the same kind of way that a small child might be running around the room having fun playing with their toys. Now, I know this might seem like a really tall order for, what is this, grade 7, for a grade 7 Baroque piece to genuinely feel, I can really have fun with this. But if you approach it, that your mission, your work, if you want to call it that, you know, the work isn't to go, oh my God, I have to play well and play well and get a good mark. Your goal is to be naive, innocent, and playful. And then when that is your goal, you're more likely to find out how to get the right kind of technique. And when I'm playing this, what I want to imagine a lavender field with the wind rippling through. And the wind doesn't just go da, da, da. The wind ripples, and so, you know, it comes and goes. And so what I imagine is something more like, you know, as the wind picks up and then sort of goes away. And there's a flow, there needs to be a flow. And most versions that I've heard on YouTube, there's no flow. It's like 1, 2, 3. It's like, I think that, I mean, you want to know, you want to be aware of the beat, but you don't want to feel the beat. It needs to float. You know, when you're watching the wind rippling through lavender field, there is no pulse. Yeah, hopefully you know what I mean. So. And to me, this really sings. It absolutely has to sing. It says espressivo, but it's like... Think Hollywood soundtrack. There's something sort of almost... Yeah, but it has to sing. In your imagination, you must hear some kind of singing quality to that. I think a lot of the challenge of this piece is sort of deciding, what is this lavender field? What's going on in it? Do we want, like, the wind picks up? Whoops. So what I'm imagining now, I'm just imagining the wind picking up a bit, falling back, picking up. And what are we feeling? Are we just chilling and just enjoying the ambience? Or is there something a bit more personal? Is there something a bit more heartfelt? So here's the lavender field, and are we really singing from our hearts? Is something really going on here? And I didn't choose to do it that way. For me, this is just a more... it's more like a background melody. It's a background emotion. It's up to you. It's up to you, you know, how much you... This is something very, very personal. Da-dum-dum. Rather than this is just the emotion. This is, for me, a landscape. If I play it like a landscape, the melody is the landscape. Whereas we could make the melody something very personal inside us. It's part of our story. So if I do it that way, and I think I prefer the first way, but you know, it's up to you to decide. The challenge is, do not just play notes. Don't just go. Now that was me just trying to play everything correctly. I was trying to get all the right dynamics, all the right notes, but it's just empty, it's dead. Dare I say it, like most versions I see people put up on YouTube. Not students, students put really nice ones up. There's like a young girl who plays this in a very flouncy way, and playing is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. But don't play it like that, you know. Feel the wind, feel the wind. Feel this call to you. It's like a siren song. Let your heart breathe and respond to the wind. Feel the magic of looking at this field. Anyway, hopefully you get the idea. Now, I'm going to add a little bit more of sort of how to take this to what I think is a bit of a more advanced level, because I don't know about you guys, but what does this piece express? What is it about? What if it was a person? Who is this person? What are they feeling? What are they doing? And to me, the way that I usually hear this, it's like I don't get any sensation of character. It's just like, you know, teenage boy going, let me play as loudly and as fast as I can and show off how fast my fingers move. You know, it's like literally, look at what I can do, look at what I can play. It doesn't express anything. So when I'm looking at this, it's like, yeah, I think it needs to... For one thing, anyway, I think it sounds flashier. If you want to just sound flash, I think it sounds much flashier when you pull with the fingers. So let me just play the two ways and contrast it. Do you prefer this? Etc., etc. Do you prefer this? And bear in mind, I need to be really, really warmed up to play this because it's kind of a new technique. It's a new style for me to play, and it's difficult. So, you know, I massively prefer it that way. And to me, it's like a scurrying animal. it means something. It's like, oh, or like, you know, in one lesson I likened it to the hare, the hare from Alice in Wonderland, who was rushing around, being late for everything. Then, you know, and also the tone. You know, we want to make a beautiful tone rather than just... It's not beautiful. I still have some space for online students. There will be a link in the description below if you want to get in touch. Yeah, take care. Go do some practicing or go watch more of my videos and take care. Goodbye.